Hi everyone, it's Don and I hope you're having a fantastic week. Well, there's a news article going out by a professor from Kent State University, and the big caption is Paradise, and there's a picture of a cruise ship, but there's a fly and there's disease and there's band-aids and there's everything in the picture, as if it's a disease-ridden box kind of thing. And I just want to say my 2 cents worth, if you will, about this article. So first off, let me say this is not in any way intended for hate or dismissal. I just want to have a rebuttal to her thoughts on cruise ships and vacations in general. Now, the person is a professor from, as I said, Kent State University, and she studies and works in infectious diseases. She has a degree in epidemiology, infectious diseases, that sort of thing. Much too big a words for me. And the story starts out innocent enough, where she says she took her son to the new live-action Lion King movie, and while they were sitting there, they were subjected, and I got a kick out of that word, subjected to, not just here's an ad, here's an advertisement. We were subjected to Disney Cruise Line's advertisement, basically, where they're showing you can sail on the open seas with your favorite Disney characters. And of course, her son wanted to go the next day, she says. She's all excited. And then she says, she didn't have the heart to tell him that as her son, he will never, ever, ever step foot on that cruise ship. And that's a pretty hard line, I thought to myself. That's a pretty narrow view of anything. It's one thing if you're terrified of the water or something, but just say, nope, I'm not going on a cruise. Now, I do understand that you work with infectious diseases, so anything that might amplify that can be very intimidating to you. Somebody who concentrates on that. That would be like, somebody, myself, I work for a chip company, so I was handling bags of chips all day long. Well, when I first worked there, it was great. I'd walk home with some samples, or after a couple weeks, I didn't want anything to do with chips anymore because I work with them all day long. I kind of think that's how this is going. So let's break down her article a little bit. Of course, she automatically goes into all the diseases that can be happening. There's norovirus, there's E. coli, and as the Scientology cruise proved to us, there is the measles. And okay, now what you fail to think about in that is you're only comparing Outlanders to the normal cruise industry. Because did you know while the measles was happening on the Scientology cruise, there were 4 hotels in the United States that also had measles outbreaks as well. Bet you're not thinking about not staying at a hotel next time you go on vacation, but you're thinking about not staying on a cruise ship because you heard one story about measles on one ship in the last 10 years. So let's go with there. Norovirus, yes, happens. Guess what? Happens 10 to 20 times more often in hotel and land-based vacations than on a cruise ship. And then she goes into talking about, the CDC investigates 12 to 13 cases of gastronomical infections on cruise ships each year. All right, so let's say 13, your high number. There's 348 cruise ships out there sailing 365 days a year. If you break that down, that means you will have one infectious disease breakout for somebody every 10,000 some cruise days. Those are pretty good odds. Those are pretty fantastic odds. And of course, with the recent study, she had to bring up the Carnival Fantasy, which failed its, CDC inspection for the first time ever, by the way. it failed its inspection. It normally is in the high 90s, mid 90s, and this time it just failed for some reason. So I was looking at the history of the ship, and she goes on, it was, flies on the bagels and in clean pools, and went on and on about all the bad things they found on that one cruise ship. Yes, that one cruise ship, in that one inspection. In the last 900 inspections on cruise ships, only 2 have failed. Only 2 have failed. If you would like to, go check out the CDC's hotel amount of failures or restaurant amount of failures. The numbers will shock you compared to the cruise industry. So yeah, something was definitely wrong with the Carnival Fantasy. They're working to fix it. Carnival has actually assured me it's all fixed. They're ready for another inspection any day now. And I come down hard on Carnival quite often, so but I do believe that they don't want this on their record, and they were angry about this report as much as we would, because it doesn't look good on them, right? Oh, you're an unclean ship. Your whole cruise line must be like that. No, it's completely not true. So let's go there. But yeah, check out hotel failures in North America and Europe and everywhere else in the world. It might just shock you as well. And of course, then she goes in about all the other things that can happen. You can get stranded at sea. You can be left behind at a dock. Well, yeah, but generally, those are your fault. If you get left at a dock, it's usually because you didn't get back to the dock in time. It's usually not the cruise line's fault that happened. Yeah, you can fall overboard. Yes, you can. Of course, 99% of the people who fall overboard are intentional or self-inflicted, because of too much alcohol. It's usually never a real accident. I think in the last 10 years, only 3 cases have been actual accidents. Actual, real accidents. So, again, you're taking things out of context, and I think a lot of it is your job. And your job is worrying about infectious diseases, worrying about what can go wrong. And so you hear the one story out of 500 stories, it's a bad story, and that's the one you're concentrating on. And I understand, because that's what happens in the news. Those stories get more views on the channel than the good news stories do. But yeah, you really have to do a little more research than reading just a couple stories that happened in the news recently. And here's what I want to, at the end of her article, she states, "No thank you for all this stuff. I'm going to stick to driving and flying to my vacation." You talk about being on a cruise ship and being confined to a confined space and not being able to go anywhere, but then you're talking about going on a plane with, between 100 to 300 other people. And I'm pretty sure infectious diseases will spread a lot faster on a plane than they will on a wide open cruise ship with multiple decks and multiple floors. So keep that in mind next time you're lining up for that plane and you see somebody goes before getting on the plane. I've gotten sick from a plane. I've never gotten sick on a cruise ship. And as far as all your numbers are concerned and you're worried about it, I'm about to go next month on my 100th cruise. Total amount of times I've come down with the norovirus, or I've missed my ship, or I've been stranded, 0 times. Absolute 0 times. So it is sometimes the luck of the draw. Bad things do happen, but they can happen anywhere in the world. So don't think of cruise lines as a big container, because you're missing out on possibly a great vacation. Your kids may be missing out on something that you would love to do with them. Go to Disney and have a Disney cruise with them. But I think you have it in your head because of where you work, and I understand that. I really do. People who are underwriters for insurance companies who assess risk for people when they're doing their life insurance policies tend to be very overcautious in everything they do. They don't go skydiving, they don't go mountain climbing, they don't fly whenever they can because they see all the insurance and all that write-ups and the stories, and that they avoid anything that might be the least bit, little bit, they're not going zip lining, they're not doing anything that might actually be fun. And I think that's not a great way to live, to be afraid of doing things because something might happen. You know what? If you went on a cruise and you had an upset stomach on your cruise, is it the end of the world? It might ruin your cruise, but it's not going to be a lasting effect. Nothing's going to happen to you for the rest of your life. And to avoid living your life or living things that might be enjoyable because you're afraid to do something, I don't see it. And that goes for anything, not just cruises. Don't be afraid to live your life. The world right now is dangerous. The world right now is crazy. If things happen, they can happen 10 feet from your house. So my advice to everybody out there is just try and enjoy your life the best you can, and don't run from anything. Because you can't. Because it'll hit you in home just as much as it'll hit you abroad. Well, what do you guys think? Do you think they're being overcautious? Are you afraid of getting all these diseases and being stranded? Or do you think a lot of it is just luck of the draw? For every cruise that goes out, for every 10,000 days of cruises for a cruise ship, there's only one outbreak. That's a pretty darn good record, as far as I'm concerned. Well, I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. You'll see more tips, more tricks, more travel vlogs from around the world. Hit that subscribe button. Till next time, have yourself a safe and a great vacation.